Hey guys, if you really like my style of teaching and you learn a lot from my guides, you can learn even more and improve even quicker from my coaching style. And you can find that, add me on Discord through my tag down in the description below. My cat Felix says, please buy his coaching. He's a really good teacher. Yeah. Woo! Okay guys, so add me up and message me and we'll talk more on Discord. Enjoy the video guys, peace. Hey guys, so in today's video I'm going to be teaching you how to entry as a duelist specifically. Also, just these are going to be useful tips for just entering in general. So if you are a different role or you play different characters outside of duelist, these tips will still apply on those characters whenever you're entering. Because sometimes you're going to be forced into a situation where you're going to have to entry, excuse me, as other roles because your duelists have already died or something. So first things first, bring your spike as a courtesy, as a duelist or as the entry, just to the area where you're entering so that your teammates can grab it before they go in because you don't want to run in with it first. So the first tip is, right, the berry is going to spawn right here. The first tip is going to be, make sure you're placing your crosshair where the enemy's head's going to be. And also make sure you're clearing things appropriately. So the appropriate way to clear this is going to be to peek like this, right, at first. So we're clear this because this is the first angle that people can peek. I don't typically flash this just because they can pretty easily hide, like right here, and then just peek back out after the flash goes away. So crosshair placement, very important here. Make sure your crosshair is where you think their heads are going to be. And then after this, again, the incorrect way to do this would be to peek like this. Don't just swing out like this. Make sure your crosshair is actually right here in this area. And so this is the case for other areas too. Make sure your crosshair is always going to be where the first place an enemy could be is. And the first place where an enemy can be here is right here, right? Then you're slowly kind of inching out. Always check up against this wall as well. These are the first two places I clear. So I clear here, then I clear here, right? Just like this. So here and then here. And then I start walking up or a run if we're full running. But you always have to be careful of wine. So first, again, we're not clearing wine first because well, if you actually start A, you don't really need to worry about it too much unless you get flashed or something. But after we're up here, I like to clear here first because, again, if we can't clear wine unless we walk across here. And if we walk across here, we need to clear all this out. So I clear right here. I'm usually pretty quick about this, so it doesn't take as long as I am to explain it right now. So I clear here, and I'll jiggle out. And heaven, I'm a little more cautious of just because... Right, I think people are going to peek from heaven, and Jin as well. I'm quite cautious of Jin, so I'll pretty quickly clear this here. Maybe I'll sit a sec for it on dice, and then kind of go like this. And after a while, it becomes pretty easy. And then here, I'll just check wine especially if we rotated from B or something, just to be safe. If you start A and you don't get flashed, I'm pretty sure you do not have to worry about clearing line because nobody can possibly be there. Unless you guys are just really slow to peek. And then, so now, right, you guys have understood that crosshair placement, this is called slicing the pie, they're both really important. So basically all over the different areas, make sure that you're doing this before and as you're entering. So let's go ahead and go over to B as another example. Again, drop your spike here. Just as a courtesy. So again, we're gonna peek like this because this is the area that people are gonna mainly be here. And then we're gonna clear it to the right. The incorrect way to do this would just be to go like this, right? Because then if you're wide swinging like this and not clearing here, you're gonna get killed from here because you're not ready for that person that's gonna be standing there and looking at you. So go like this. This is pretty standard though, I feel like. And then here again, we're just kind of slicing the pie. And again, you might walk up. I like to kind of clear like this, make sure there's nobody in this corner. And then again, just like on A site, you're going to look over toward logs first, the first area that you can see, and then you're going to look up here, having good crosshair placement. This one's actually a little bit harder just because crosshair placement needs to be a bit higher since you're actually at a D elevation. This is a bit higher than where you are, where you're standing, so you need to adjust. Instead of placing your crosshair here, you need to go up, obviously. This is the reason I say this is because it's a little bit unorthodox. It's a little bit difficult to kind of trick your brain into doing it first. But once you do it, right, it becomes easier. And then here you might clear here. Mainly worried about CT here, though, and then lane. Or not lane, stairs. And then maybe boat here. So be careful of this. And then close lane. But after you're done clearing everything out initially, you can kind of choose, especially if you're alone or your team's at a disadvantage. Like say it's a, I don't know, 2v4, and we know that we need to push something in like a minute or something, but you have time to work with. So what you can do after you clear everything out is just kind of hold an angle you think someone's likely to peek. So you can hold one of these. Don't stand out in the open because this is dangerous. If you're just looking like this and someone peeks from over here while you're looking at here, try to like minimize the angles. So you kind of cross like this, or you look like this, right? And then what this is going to do is going to allow you to actually regain the advantage after someone peaks, because people are going to get impatient. People are going to peak, especially in lower ranks, and this is going to give you the chance to get that number advantage back, or at least get closer to getting that back. Make it a 2v3, make it a 2v2, and so on and so forth, right? And so now next we're going to be talking about actually entering, but I'll see you guys then. So in this tip, I'm actually going to be explaining the process of entering and kind of like what I do. So this is after the stage of like, you know, clearing out, you know, main or clearing out whatever. You know, there's typically an area on every map that you need to clear out, and so here you need to clear out B main and you need to clear out A main. And on other maps, you need to clear out other stuff as well before you can actually fully like entry and start entering into site, which is the process that I'm going to be explaining now. And we're going to be doing it from the perspective of a duelist and from the perspective of a Reyna. So Reyna has pretty much just one ability that you're going to be using other than heal and dismiss. Dismiss is actually important too, but before you enter, you're going to want to flash. And run in with the flash is really good. So typically on A, I do not flash this corner. I don't think it's necessary. I just like to peek it. Unless they have like an op that's peeking wide or something, or they have someone sitting here, but I'll basically just flash out, and I'm just gonna run in with it. So flash, clear corners, choose whichever corner you want to clear first. It doesn't really matter. Typically I'll actually clear the left first, but clear depending on how the enemy's been playing and depending on where you think the enemy's most likely going to sit. So I'll flash kind of high. You can look here, clear to the left, and then quickly look to the right. On Duelist, you really want to hit the switch. So you can, you're basically just looking around here. Your team should be coming out with you. Here's what I clear here. I'm always looking Gen. Gen's really important. So let's do this just one more time. So I'm going to flash high. I'm looking kind of just in the general area here, making sure. So like, you know, I kind of have my crosshair in the middle in case someone peeks heaven, in case someone peeks here, in case someone peeks here. Because you don't know if someone's behind Gen, behind here, behind dice. So you need to basically be expecting the most, expecting kind of all of them, unless you know for a fact where one enemy is. If you know for a fact there's an enemy behind Gen, then you can place your crosshair, prioritize your crosshair there. But if you know if you don't know where anyone is, then you kind of just look in the middle, clear the right, clear the left quickly, hit the door, and then let the door close. You can even cross as the door is closing, clear this door, or clear that corner, I mean. You can walk up or run up, and then just clear everything. It's typically nobody plays Hell, but just clear it to be safe. People play Hell more in lower ranks. And basically after you do this, you have control of the site. You know, usually you're gonna have to actually fight people unless you do a nice rotate from a different site. But this is how you take the site, so it's nothing crazy. As Reyna, if you're coming out, you get a kill, you can dismiss, clear everything for your team, and then get to like right here, and then you know you can like ping where the enemy is, like you'll hear this corner, and then they can come out behind you, kill you as you're dismissing pretty safely. You can also double flash. Say your first flash gets killed pretty quickly, you can double flash. Let's go ahead and go over to B, so I can show you guys how to enter into there. Again, every map's going to be a little bit different. So here I do have a flash that I like to throw before we kind of clear out. So that's going to be just right here. So this I should have shown you in the last part, but you flash right here. It clears out anyone that wants to peek right here, and it makes the whole process of entering or clearing out this area much easier. So now again, I'm going to flash high. I like to throw it kind of out here just so I can flash this corner and this corner. So flash, clear lane. I always like to kind of, again, hopefully this stuff is all smoked. So hopefully this and this is smoked so that you don't have to worry about it too much. You're going to flash and then clear here, clear here, clear here, clear here. And again, your main objective is actually going to be to hit the switch. Do be aware of the smokes as you're running out. But again, primarily be aware of where can the enemy actually be peeking me or fighting me from. You don't typically have to worry too much about the smokes because people are usually going to respect the smokes and not run through them. But some duelists will run through them, and if you know that you're in a game against people that are going to be doing that, you really need to make sure that you're not going to die to that. So here again, we're going to flash. Again, I place my crosshair kind of in the middle, just kind of expecting where I think enemies might come from. And then I'm going to run out, clear the first thing, which is going to be lane. Make sure you clear right here. People can sit on top of this. And then now, again, these are smokes. You don't have to worry too much about them. Look lane. You can check logs and then check here, or you can check here and then logs. But the most important thing is going to be for you to hit the switch. It's pretty necessary for you to hit the switch if your other duelist is not. So hit the switch. You can kind of chill for a sec. Make sure you watch the smokes, especially the door smoke, because someone might run through. And then where I like to go, we're going to talk about this in the next tip, but I like to, after we get control, if your team needs help on site still, you know, there's still a smoke here, we can come help site, clear everything, especially if it's like a 2v2 or 2v3, make sure you help your teammate clear out everything before you kind of position for the post plant. Because if you're positioning for the post plant and your teammate goes site and then dies and there's one person there, it's going to be kind of a pain for you to actually do that. As opposed to if you guys both sandwich or collapse in on the one person on site, it'll be much easier to secure the run, even if one of you dies. So next, we're going to be talking about what to do now after you have everything kind of cleared out. Actually, let's talk about one more way you can enter here. So let's say your other duelist is hitting the switch. You're going to flash. Again, you can clear these corners just in case. Make sure you kind of look like this. And then we can come out here. I like to flash like this. That's kind of like the wide swing. I always like to like look down whenever I come up like this. So look down underneath you. And then, of course, the most important thing is going to be to clear back a boat. Once that's clear, you have a sight. So yeah, next we're going to be talking about how to play post plant and where to position specifically on this map, but also just in general on other maps. Okay guys, so in this section I'm going to be explaining what do you do after you get control of sight, because I feel like a lot of people get kind of awkward in this position and they don't really know where, mainly to like where position. It kind of, again, depends on your role. If you're a duelist, there's a fine balance between playing an aggressive position and just running into them and feeding. So we're going to break it down here. So an example of feeding might just be running up into heaven and just pushing, but this can actually be good in certain situations, so it kind of depends, right? If you clear A extremely fast, it might be acceptable to kind of walk up here and get into a position like this where basically every enemy in the game is not going to clear unless they really expect you to be here or you've already played here or something. You can even jump on this little box if you'd like. But in most scenarios, in the vast majority of scenarios, this is going to be too aggressive. This is actually an acceptable play here as well, especially if this is smoked. But you just need to be careful of door and flank. So if your teammates have these things, or if the door is still closed, or if someone's in tree, this is pretty good. This is acceptable. You can like sit on this box here and then jump up and then take a fight. But again, this is still somewhat aggressive. So my favorite spots to play, they're actually just on site, are going to be, one of them is right here. So I really like this spot because you can kind of, whenever you kind of hear them, whenever your teammate like sees them from wherever, you can kind of like start to inch out and just like see their head here and then click it, and then you can dismiss back and you're pretty safe to come back like under hell, sit right here, wait for the drop, fight them. So this is one of my favorite spots. A lot of people play this spots in higher ranks. And a similar spot to that one is this one. I would, this is good for like early, right as you're planting the spike or right after the spike's planted, as long as again you have control of tree and you have control of flank. Typically people don't flank here, so you don't really have to worry. But one thing about this spot is you need to be crouching, otherwise your head's going to be showing. But again, I like this spot because you can kind of like, whenever your teammates start seeing them, whenever they start shooting your teammates, you can pop up and just like fight them, especially if you have really good aim. This might seem risky, but you can easily get a kill here and then kind of like dismiss back over here, or just keep taking fights from right here, which is really nice. But one thing is, make sure you're not crouched behind this one. Make sure you're crouched behind the one that's not spammable, right? Because people will sometimes shoot this, so be careful. My other favorite spot is going to be Gen. So Gen, you can kind of just chill right here. You can also kind of sit here and wait for people to come out, but I really like playing right here. One thing is, make sure you're careful and ready for people to just like jump from here to here, because they will, and they'll jump like basically on top of you. People can also jump on top of Gen, and also right here. So this is extremely good. Gen is basically probably the best spot to play A site from, kind of more aggressively, because you know the spike's going to be either most likely here, so they're really going to have to go through you in order to actually get to the spike, unless they have like a smoke or something. And my last spot is going to be right here, or pushed into tree. So again, this is gonna be more situational. Like, I don't do that all the time, but I will sometimes kind of come up into tree, and then if this is closed, I'll come up into here whenever they're peeking, and it's just free kills. Sometimes I'll even go all the way over here, but I'm not gonna go through all that. These are just all the different ways that I typically go. So for post plant on B, my favorite spot, one of my favorite spots anyway, that's a little bit more aggressive, is gonna be like right here. So this is somewhat common, but not super common. Again, make sure that you have someone watching flank, or you have some kind of trip on flank. And then if the door is closed, you're pretty safe here to just kind of watch here. But if the door starts getting broken, you can kind of hold like this, a nice angle like this. The one problem with this is if someone comes flank, or if someone's coming out as they're coming out here as well, like they have good timing and coordination together, you could get sandwiched on. But the good news is this doesn't happen even in really high ranks for the most part, except for like Radiant. Another spot that I like is like right here. This is a little bit aggressive, but again, if you're Reyna, if you're Jet, if there's a smoke here, you can play this, and it's pretty acceptable to play this whenever you have number advantage. So it's like a 4v3, or you know, it's even if it's 3v4, you can play this just to get a kill and then come back pretty safely. I also don't mind this spot for if I want to hold CT and I know that my flank's safe. And then people will come out here and basically never look at this direction. They'll never look here unless they're looking down at logs. Logs is another spot. Logs is kind of, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of it because they can come here, they can come out on top of you, and then if they come out from CT, they're gonna cross, and then if they cross without you, you're gonna have to like run and try to get them before they defuse the spike. So basically, those are good spots. The next spot I like is lane, so you can kind of just chill either like right here, or you can just chill lane and kind of wait for them to, you know, like drop here, or for them to peek. I wouldn't peek too aggressively because again, people are gonna expect you to be lane quite a lot, for the most part anyway. And you can get away with peeking this. People also spam this a lot, so be careful. But this is a good thing to do, especially if you can catch someone like looking right there, looking towards sight. But don't peek too early. People will be looking at you. This is a good spot to play though. Lane is really good to play in post plant because it really forces them to make a decision about where they want to go. Last but not least, of course, we're gonna have here. Also for A, sorry guys, you can play A main, but just as a duelist, typically that's not really what you want to do as much. However, for B site, it's very acceptable even as a duelist to play in boathouse, just because I don't know, it's just how the site plays. Like for A, you don't really want to be back here because it's almost like it's too far away from the spike, and you can get smoked off, and it's really hard to deal with that. If you get smoked off here, you're gonna be so close to the spike that it really doesn't matter. Like you can just walk through, kill one, dismiss back. So this is a really good spot to play for pretty much anyone. Like even if you're a sentinel, a duelist, whatever role, it doesn't really matter, whatever agent. So if you're looking for a spot to play and you can't play these aggressive spots for whatever reason in your game, then play back here. You can also play this spot. This can be spammed, so be careful. I also sometimes play like right here, or maybe even under here. But these are all different ways to play post plant. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video for entering as a duelist and for basically taking the site and how to play post plant. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, guys. Much love.